Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Today we are going to talk about the origin and mythos of the Banshee. Before we get started with the video, don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started. The name Banshee comes from the Irish language and can also be spelled bean-side. The concept that the Banshee once resided in the burial mounds of ancient Ireland gave rise to the origin of the creature's name, which literally translates to woman of the fairy mounds. It is unknown where the Banshee originated. Nevertheless, she is frequently linked to the Morgan, the Celtic goddess of death, and it was thought that she appeared as a portent of death. It is common for a Banshee, an Irish legendary entity, to take the shape of a shrieking or singing woman with long gray or silver hair. Banshees are said to have originated in Celtic and Gaelic traditions and come from Irish mythology. It was not uncommon for people to refer to her as the Hag of the Mists. They are also mentioned in the folklore of the Scots, Welsh, and Norse peoples, as well as the American. Some people think that banshees can take on a variety of appearances, such as a stunning young woman draped in a shroud, a headless woman holding a bowl of blood, or an elderly woman with terrifying eyes and long white hair. According to Irish folklore, a banshee is a type of fairy woman who has connections to specific, long-established Irish families. She manifests herself during the night to terrify her descendants by screaming in their houses and warning them of the coming deaths of other family members. In their most basic form, they are a portent of death. Due to the fact that many Irish families have combined throughout the years, there is a widespread notion that each Irish family has its very own banshee. The Banshee is a legendary figure from Irish folklore who is depicted as a beautiful, otherworldly woman with long, flowing hair and is typically shown wearing a black cloak. Despite this, she was frequently portrayed as having characteristics resembling those of a witch or a ghost. This is the impression that has been burned into my memory ever since I was a child, when I used to be terrified that the sound of cats fighting late at night was actually a banshee letting me know that she was around. When I was little, I recall learning about banshees and being under the impression that they really did exist. My parents had, in fact, heard accounts from relatives from many years ago who claimed to have heard the wail of a banshee immediately before a loved one passed away. It is impossible for me to say with certainty if these were true beliefs held by the generation that came before my parents or whether they were fantastic tales designed to frighten children. The oldest accounts of the Banshee come from a ritual that dates back to the 8th century in which women, who were also referred to as keeners, were compensated to sing a sad song to lament the passing of a loved one. They were willing to take payment in the form of alcohol. As a consequence of this, they were judged to be wicked and sentenced to a life as banshees. According to an old Irish myth, the art of keening was developed by Brigid, the goddess of poetry and fertility in Ireland. The terrible Second Battle of Moytura, also known as Cathanaist Mage Twired, is where the practice originated after it was established. The Tuatha De Danann and the Fomori were engaged in combat during this time. Ruadan, Brigid's son, passed away while the family was engaged in combat. Brigid let out a wretched howl once she learned that the body of her son had been found on the battlefield, a song of a romantic and melancholy nature to commemorate his passing. Some Irish people believe that they have their very own banshee in their culture. Take, for instance, my mother is superstitious, and she believes that if a picture falls off the wall, it means that our time on Earth is drawing to a close. I seem to recall that she mentioned that it took place not long before the passing of one of her cousins. When we were sitting together, a picture that was hanging on the wall fell, and that's how I first learned about it. It is possible that this is a personal belief, but I cannot say for certain. The Banshee is sometimes thought to be connected to a specific family or clan, and the only time she makes an appearance is to report the passing of a member of that family or clan. There's a strong connection between banshees and the 5 ancient families of Ireland. The O'Neills, the O'Connors, the O'Briens, the O'Griens, the O'Grady's, and the Kavanaghs are all members of these clans. Some myths depict her as a guardian or protector who is trying to warn people of danger, as is the case with Brian Boru, Ireland's most famous High King. More on that later, or to guide them to the other world. This is similar to the role that Brian Boru plays in the story. Now that we understand what banshees are and where they originate, let's find out more about their skills and rituals. As was said earlier, Banshees can manifest as a wide variety of different types of women. Mythology also informs us that they had the ability to change the appearance of their body so that it appeared to be that of another person, a monster, or even the spirit of a deceased relative. She has the ability to assume a variety of personas. She can assume the form of a weasel, stoat, or hare, although she is most commonly shown as an elderly hag, sometimes with red hair and wearing a green dress. She is also capable of transforming into other animals. This helps to explain why some people believe the Banshee to be a ghost, fairy, goddess, or demon, as Banshees are all of these things and more. The Banshee is able to transform her appearance in response to the people who are listening to the Banshee is able to transform her appearance in response to the people who are listening to her song. And it doesn't necessarily sound like the scream that will make your stomach turn, contrary to what the majority of contemporary interpretations have led us to assume. In fact, the Banshee's cry has been known to occasionally emanate an eerie beauty. According to traditional Irish legend, Banshees can only become attached to a descendant and/or a family member, specifically a member of one of Ireland's old families. She will come out at night close to the family's lodgings, but if she is discovered, she will quickly disappear into a cloud of mist while making a sound that is reminiscent of a bird flapping its wings. It is essential to keep in mind that the scream of a banshee does not directly result in a person's passing. Rather, it serves as a forewarning of the impending death of a member of the family. In Irish tradition, the banshee was considered a significant figure despite much debate regarding her background. It was believed that the mere sound of her wail could make even the most courageous of men have chills down their spines, and it was also said that the sight of her would induce them to experience emotions of approaching doom. Some people held the belief that the banshee could only be heard by those who were close to passing away, while others thought that everyone who listened to her wail would pass away shortly afterward. It is a common misconception that the banshee can be appeased by presenting her with a meal or a drink in certain regions of Ireland. The practice of offering sacrifices of food and wine to please supernatural beings is pervasive in Irish society. The latest horror film, Unwelcome, which was shot in Ireland, had a plot in which new villagers in the village make a fatal mistake when they neglect to provide an offering of food to the evil fairies who live in their backyard. This leads to disastrous results. It is a frequent misconception that the Irish banshee is a creature that is purely malevolent and filled with hatred. On the other hand, there are some banshees that are nice. They are regarded as women of peace who have strong links to their families and who look out for the people they care about. When banshees make their presence known, they often take the form of stunning ladies who perform a hauntingly sorrowful song as an act of love for their descendants in the days leading up to the passing of a member of the family. In stark contrast, we now mostly deal with the odious banshee, who is actually rather terrifying. These terrifyingly twisted female bad spirits are known as banshees, and they are the result of women harboring grudges against their family. Their wails aren't as wistful and lovely as those of the banshees, which prefer more tranquil environments. Their piercing screams, on the other hand, will send chills down your spine. Do not confuse the sound of their cries for the sound of mourning. Rather, you should interpret it as the maniacal sound of jubilation. In fact, it was a celebration of the passing of someone who was totally despised by them. That's a wrap on the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.